Hello, my name is Meghan Maher, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to write an effective lesson plan. So I think that through our K through 12 education, we all had that one teacher or maybe a couple teachers who we just will always remember making us feel good. You know, you walk into their classroom, you want to be there, you feel like you can be productive there, like you enjoy the subject or just the environment. And then I think we all have those teachers that maybe not so much made us feel that way. For whatever reason we didn't feel connected to the subject or productive or confident in that classroom and didn't like going there so much. And so as an education student, I've spent quite a bit of time in front of groups of students learning how to be the educator I hope to become. And I've learned quite a bit about the reasons why certain environments are and aren't effective. And I think it's just that teachers, we're learning as we go, and we have to plan to cater to various elements. And so today I'm going to be talking about the different steps that it takes to write an effective lesson plan. An effective lesson plan involves picking a subject based on government standards and relevance, knowing your students and their learning abilities and styles, and then setting learning objectives based on those things that you hope to achieve with your lesson. And so, picking a subject. There are thousands of different ways to write it and ways to express it, but there's government standards for each state and each subject that teachers have to follow. And so in my sample lesson plan today, I am going to be teaching based on a GLIC's State of Michigan standards for social studies. And it says, use a case study or story about migration within or to the United States to teach students about push or pull factors. So why people would leave a place and what pulls them into a new one. And one of the things in picking this standard, now that I've picked that subject, that you have to consider is the time it's going to take to teach that to my students. And so looking at it, this is an introductory lesson, and it can kind of take some time to figure out in the classroom how to introduce the idea, so not too much has to be done that day except for grasping the push and pull factors. And then part of this first step in picking your subject is, as the educator, study before you teach. So let's be honest, none of us remember everything we've ever learned. In school, I certainly can say it's been a minute since I brushed up on Ellis Island, which is what I'm going to be teaching about, migration in the United States at Ellis Island. And I don't want to stand in front of a group of fourth graders and wonder what I'm talking about. So I want to brush up just to make sure that I can confidently express my ideas in order to help them do the same. Second step is know your students. So you got to understand the learning styles of your different students and then the environments that they come from at home and the environment within your classroom. Because when young people come to learn, they're learning how to learn just as much as they're learning the subject. And so these 4 standards of learning: visual learners, so kids who have to really see something to connect with it; auditory learners, kids who can hear it, got it; writing and reading, or kinesthetic. So reading and writing is, write some notes and you've got it down. Kinesthetics is get up and feel it. So as a teacher, your challenge is to get to know your students and then understand what they need and address all 4 of those learning styles in order to have every student be able to learn. And so then that's when applying those styles to the environment, to the activity, comes in play, which is what I've come up with today's lesson plan, which you'd write out for the students, so maybe the visual learners will know exactly what you're doing. And we're going to take a look at a picture, and I would have it on a PowerPoint presentation if this was an actual lesson, but take a look at a picture that's really zoomed in, and then as you go through the slides, you're going to zoom out a little bit and have the kids write down independently and then collaboratively talk about what they see, think, and wonder. And then in groups of 3 or 4, we're going to discuss what we've come up with. So that's independent and group learning. And then get a chance to express ideas with each other in each other's groups. So really, all your bases are covered there. If you think about, some kids will see it and connect with it. Some kids will hear the evaluation and connect with it, and so on and so forth. So just for an example, you'd say this picture, what do you see, what do you think, what do you wonder? And then zoom out, same picture, just a little bit more full. And then finally you see all of them together, and we can talk about, hey, these people look like they're all wearing a similar style of clothing. They all come from a somewhat similar place, or maybe they don't. We'll talk about that, and then that will be able to introduce to the kids, hey, here's other children you can relate to, but they look different from you. Why is that? Why might that be, etc. And then finally, set your learning objectives. So now that we've brushed up as a teacher on the subject that we picked, carefully based on government standards, and we came up with a lesson plan based on that. So what are we going to do? So third step is set lesson objectives. So what do I want to accomplish with all of this? I already said, I want them to understand the push and pull factors and different things, but after today's lesson, you should be able to think critically and independently. So think alone and thinking by yourself. And then collaborate with classmates and identify push and pull factors so that you can understand and apply. So how do we test whether a student has understood and can apply the knowledge they've learned? Well, you revisit the state standards and think, okay, which is what I had on this PowerPoint slide, revisit those and think, how can I make sure my students get it? Everybody's favorite thing, homework. So now that I've outlined my time frame and kind of, hey, it's going to take them today to get the idea. Next class, we're going to do a little bit more in-depth of a lesson. Tonight, I want them to go online, which is something we're also focusing on in education, is introducing technology and making it our friend instead of our foe. So they're going to go to Scholastic's website, which has a bunch of young immigrants that kids can watch videos of and relate to, and write in their journals, what do you see, what do you think, what do you wonder about that student. And then next class, we're going to talk about it and talk about different places specifically. And so, we have a couple of different objectives that the state sets forth to learn. And this introductory lesson, being so well thought out and so universally catering to, I guess, all of the different learning styles, really helps to get the other parts of the lesson going smoother. Because you can't, build a staircase without the first step. So at the end of the school day, at the end of the day, what you want is to be able to meet the government standards and all of that, but also to have your young learners know that they're capable of learning things and they're capable of putting things together. And as a teacher, it's your job to set that foundation down. So when you pick a subject carefully and you open-mindedly get to know your students and plan out your lesson objectives in your day based on those factors, you realize it's not just about the one lesson, it's about the way of thinking. And so organizing your lesson this way can help students be more productive and teachers be more effective in the future. Thank you.